One of the simple pleasures in life is a good, firm handshake. It's a good thing, and I enjoy it, and probably you do too. And on the other end of the spectrum, one of the most unsettling and disappointing and almost revolting things is sticking your hand out, expecting a handshake, and instead getting a dead codfish. Now it's warm, but it's dead. I want to talk about what a handshake is, what it signifies, and why does it even matter anymore? So this conversation about handshakes is coming to you from a guy. I'm a traditional guy. I value tradition. It's a big deal to me what our forefathers, how they lived and how they worked and what they produced and what life was like for them. I think it matters. And so the question today is, if a handshake was important to them, and we understand that it was, should it be important to us, or has society moved to a point where everything is so digital and we're so disconnected and fragmented and polarized that handshakes are obsolete? I think I have an answer to that. But before I dive into what I think the answer to that is, I want to talk about what I understand about the history of a handshake. So I love the musical production Les Mis, based on Victor Hugo's monumental work, Les Miserables. And in there's a character, Mr. Thénardier. And he's an innkeeper, and he's a shyster, and he's a crook, and he's a dangerous man. And the dangerous man, to disarm the people that come into his inn, whose purses he strives to lighten, is that he says in his song, always ready with a handshake and an open palm.
Ready with an handshake and an open palm.
Well, in those days, and in, I think all the days previous, a wave and a handshake was an indication of an empty and open hand. It was not a fist, and it wasn't hiding a weapon. There was no little knife. There was no derringer. It was an indication that I come to you in goodwill with no ability or desire to hurt you. And I'm assuming you're coming with goodwill with no ability or desire to hurt me. It's the beginning of a relationship of mutual trust. And it is a reaffirmation. When good friends meet each other, when they know they trust each other, the handshake communicates afresh a human touch and an unmistakable assertion of readiness and duty and friendship. Kelly and I have a bit of a habit, and it's odd maybe for older people, but we like to watch a YouTube channel called Active Self-Protection. It's entertaining, it's educational, and it's teaching us and Kelly to be more self-aware, and she carries pepper spray and all of that. And it is reinforced over and over again that in a law enforcement situation or any confrontational situation where there is a threat or a perceived threat, the eyes are the windows to the soul, but the hands are the unmistakable indication of intent. You can tell by what someone has in their hands or where their hands are or what they're doing with their hands, what they intend to do. So that is an immediate and reassuring and powerful confirmation that the open hand and the handshake is an indication of good intent. So, what constitutes a good handshake? Well, for one thing, it's an indication of perhaps strength, but even someone who is not super strong can have a firm grip. And the firmness denotes what? Capacity and concentration and a desire to engage as equals. Maybe that. I have boys come into the shop all the time, little boys, down to last time I shook hands with my grandson Cyrus, he gave me a codfish grip. He said, Cyrus, don't do that. You're not a weak boy, you're a strong boy. Squeeze my hand. I don't know how many times I've said to young men, wait, let's do that again. Squeeze that hand. Now, for those of you who are strong, I've got a good friend. And I'm going to tell you that Brian Reynolds is one of the best friends I have and one of the most capable men I know. And he is so strong, he has a concrete finisher's grip, and he accidentally, often, overdoes it. Now, I'm not a weakling. I've got a good grip. But sometimes when I grab Brian's hand, I have to remind myself, okay, both feet flat on the ground. Be ready for this. And I think that Brian, if he watches this, is going to go, yeah, sometimes I overdo it. Brian, you're a prince of a man. But don't break people's hands if you can help it. In fact, my friend George Smith, who built a crane for me on my truck, he has a hand like a catcher's mitt. He's so strong. And he broke a bone in a friend of mine's hand who has often given me that limp grip that I say, Mike, we got to do that again. Well, George taught him a lesson. Don't do that. Don't do it. Handshakes are not about teaching lessons unless you've already had confrontations, and then it becomes a pointless junior high exercise in dominance. No, that's not what a handshake is. It's just a firm, capable grip that says, I'm engaged. I'm here with you. I feel a duty to present myself to you as your friend, your capable friend, and someone who's anxious to have a serious conversation. Maybe that's it. Maybe part of a good old-fashioned good handshake is a tacit expression that I'm ready to have a serious and worthwhile and memorable conversation. And when you leave the conversation, you're going to say, that was a serious and worthwhile and memorable fellow. Nothing wrong with being known as that. So pay attention to how you shake hands. Be embarrassed to have the other guy get there soon and you haven't firmed up. And if you do that, say, hey, let's do that again. And there's the thing also about presenting your hands. Sometimes your hands don't come together at the same moment, and both hands are not fully engaged. And one guy, he gets a hold of the tips of your fingers. Say, pull them back and say, we've just got to do that again. It's funny. It's a little light. It introduces an element of levity and an element of, look, I expect this to be a worthwhile conversation, and I want it to be worthwhile from the first moment. Now, there may be some of you who think that this is silly, and you're welcome to put that in the comments. And you're welcome to go through your life extending a dead fish, but I recommend you don't. So come to your greetings with a clean hand. If you got a cold, you can decline and do an elbow bump. But don't let the COVID pandemic rob from us the tradition of shaking hands. We don't have to be afraid of germs. We don't have to be shy around strangers. We don't have to think that just because maybe you're a woman and you're not as strong as the big burly guy you're going to shake hands with, give him a firm grip anyway, and he's going to instantly take you more seriously. Teach your sons, teach your daughters. Learn it yourself. Present yourself as a person who intends to be taken seriously and gives the other person the benefit of demonstrating that they intend to take that person seriously. Whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're a boy or a girl, whether you're large in stature or slight, a firm handshake is something that is a declaration of something, and it's not something trivial, and it's not something that's easily forgotten. So be ready in sincerity to greet your friends with a handshake and an open palm. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman. Keep up the good work.